Yeah, thank you so much for that transition, Patrick. There's a guy at this combine who, without exaggeration, put up probably the greatest performance of anybody from his position, and that position just so happens to be the most important position in all of football. I am, of course, talking about Talon Green, the quarterback from Arkansas. Now, some of you may be asking, Mike, who the hell is Talon Green? And a week ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to give you a concrete answer. But when you run 4.36 in the 40-yard dash, you jump 43 and a half inches, and you broad jump 11 foot and 2 inches. And oh yeah, you're 6'5" and a quarter, and you're 230 pounds. You start having to pay attention. Like people start paying attention. This is a guy who, quite honestly, like I said, put up one of the best combine performances of a quarterback ever. He is a freak athlete in every sense. Maybe he's not the thickest guy possible. He's only 225, but he's 6'5" and a quarter. The way he ran, the way he jumped, everything jumped off the page. And it got me like, okay, I need to drop everything I'm doing. I need to quit my day job. I need to break up with my girlfriend. I need to watch film on this guy immediately, right? My girlfriend was really confused by that, but it doesn't matter. It's about the film grind, as we know. I had to watch this guy play. And I got to say, Patrick, his combine performance clearly will shoot him up the ranks of everything. And teams will look at that and say, man, he's a project. He's a guy worth taking a chance on. The film was underwhelming. The film was underwhelming. The ball did not really shoot out of his hand. Mechanically, he was all jacked up, which that doesn't really bother me because I believe in coaching. But the arm strength, the decision making, the tempo, the playing the position to me wasn't really all there. And if you guys know, my love affair with Anthony Richardson has lasted now for 4 years with very minimal return. I will say the one difference between him and Anthony Richardson, although he tested a little bit better, Anthony Richardson has a cannon, and the ball flies out of his hand. You could say the same thing for other similarly gifted athletes like Justin Fields, right? Ball flies out of his hand. The ball doesn't really fly out of his hand. He's got a weird release. So I was disappointed in the film, but that does not take away from how good he was at the combine and how much his draft stock is up. I still think he's a day 3 pick. However, he's now a very interesting day 3 pick that we're all going to be tuning in when he plays in the preseason.
So I love that you picked him as a storyline because there's a lot to it. You mentioned him playing the most important position on the field. What if he doesn't? That's a very real conversation right now. Will he switch to receiver or tight end? It is a very likely possibility here. And that might raise his stock a lot. People want to bring in athletes. And that's the big thing. You say, oh, he'll be a day 3 guy. Well, and again, there's a lot here. If he switches positions, a team might say, yeah, I want to develop a 6'5" wide receiver. Someone might go
Terrell
ahead and
Pryor. Sorry, I have a cough. Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
I have a cough.
A
Yeah.
guy, a coach might want to take a chance on potentially Terrell Pryor, right? A coach might want to bring in a guy of that caliber, a superb athlete, and if they can't develop, okay, but they'll take the risk. And it goes from one team saying they want to take the risk to more teams, and then rumors start up, and all of a sudden now he's going as a round 2 guy, projected to go round 2. And let's say maybe there's a team that says I can fix him at quarterback, right? Maybe Miami or Arizona, they miss out on Malik Willis, and now they have to find a way to bring in that young quarterback because Fernando Mendoza is going at 1. Dante Moore isn't in the draft. How are you going to find a way to make this work? Who's going to be that next quarterback? Well, I remember a lot of people talking about Lamar Jackson needing to switch to wide receiver, and he won 2 MVPs. So
Yeah, man. Shout
maybe
out
a
Bill
team
Polian for that one. Shout out Bill Polian. One of the greatest takes
maybe
of
a
all time.
team is going to try and do exactly that and draft him, this raw, very flawed quarterback, to be a quarterback. And they take that chance on round 1 because everyone's talking about taking him in round 2 to play tight end. But I'm looking to get my quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
And I want the 5th-year option. So I'm going to take him in round 1.
I
That is,
certainly think he'll start as quarterback, and then by camp, if he doesn't break the roster, then
I think
maybe
it
he's.
depends on the team. I think it depends on the team, and it depends on exactly this, the storyline, right? The Talon Green storyline that you mentioned here, that is one of my favorite ones to watch
Yeah.
throughout the rest
That's
of this
interesting.
pre-draft process.
Yeah.
In my mind, I really like that you said that one. Stole it from me. That would have been my number 1.
Yeah, and you
So,
told me to update the doc, and I was like, oh, I see he doesn't have his in yet. Let me throw yours in, and then
yeah.
So
Well, yeah, no,
swiped it from me.
I didn't put any down yet.
Yeah.
I let you make the first choice out of
Thank
respect. We
thank you.
we have
Thank you.
some respect here,
We do. We do.
uh, and I'm gonna show a little bit of respect to a position that I never really do because I'm known so well by you and the listeners of the show as the running back hater or whatever, right? But this running back class is way better than we expected. Way better. And we already talked about Mike Washington, who, I mean, he's outstanding. He was remarkable in the combine. He showed a lot. And we talked about how the combine is the most important thing for an athlete. Like that shows off so much, specifically at the running back position. Well, of course, we have Jeremiah Love. We have Price, who's another good running back who is right behind him. And he's huge, man. He's a big guy. And if we're talking about huge athletes, Adam Randall, he came out of nowhere from Clemson, 6'3", 232, running a 4.5 flat. That's crazy. I mean, just a bunch of guys that I thought showed a lot at the running back position. Desmond Claiborne out of Wake Forest, he ran a 4.37. And this is why I always stand where I stand at the running back position because yeah, this is a weak running back class. And then what happens? We see the combine. It's always a weak running back class, and then the combine comes around. That's how it feels, right? The combine comes around, players start performing, and we see, wow, these guys are really good athletes, so they'll probably be good running backs. And here's the answer: they will. But there's only 32 starting jobs, and every year there's another 10 to 15 guys that could take valuable snaps at the running back position in the NFL. That's part of the reason that I don't think many teams should be planning around a running back because there's so many guys, even in a weak draft class like this, that are proving that they deserve legitimate roles.
Yeah, and I hate to support your anti-running back agenda, but when you think about a guy like you said, there's 32 starting jobs, there's 10 to 15 guys that are going to take meaningful reps. How about a Kyle Malone guy? A guy coming out of Rutgers, 7th round, who was a really, really good ball carrier for the Bears last year, like really helped to change the identity of their offense. And I think we're seeing more and more, especially with this year, like you said, with the guys who really popped out during the combine. And I also agree with your point that every year we say the running back draft class is weak, with few exceptions. And then the combine happens, we're like, whoa, we got 8 guys I love. And it's like, okay, so this is clearly obviously an athletic based thing, but you're right, like these guys, there's going to be a lot of guys in this draft that are taking meaningful snaps. Might not be Saquon Barkley putting up 2,000 yards and getting offensive player of the year, but there are going to be guys that are contributing to their offenses in meaningful ways. Another guy that I think is going to be a meaningful contributor, and I feel like we spent the whole episode talking about Ohio State Buckeyes. I got to talk about another one. Another storyline that I thought was very interesting going into this combine was the storyline about Carnell Tate. Now, did not run particularly well. Didn't run slow. Didn't run slow, right? We got to preface that 4.5 is not slow, but obviously did not have the burners like a lot of other receivers. I mean, he's getting outrun by quarterbacks now, which is insane. And the reason I think that this is such a good storyline is not because he ran 4.5 necessarily, because that's not super shocking. Speed is not the name of his game. He is not going to be a blazer. I think obviously his play speed is fine, but it's not, something ridiculous. What I think, and this is going to be something that we might see in April, is does his non-explosive 40-yard dash time drop him in the draft? I think this is a player. I've loved Cardinal Tate for a long time. I mean, I think he's got undershadowed just because he's been around, this unicorn and Jeremiah Smith and all these other guys. And every year Ohio State has first round receivers, right? I think this guy, he's a silky smooth route runner. He's got great hands. He's able to separate. Those are the qualities that you want from a receiver. And his 40-yard dash time does not scare me at all. So I would hate to see him fall in the draft because of his lackluster speed, so to speak, and then have a team later on in the first round take him and get a huge value. I can't imagine if an Ohio State receiver ever, fell in the draft and then went in the 20s and became really, really good. Like, I can't think of a recent example of that. But the point is that Cardinal Tate is a really, really good player. And I don't want the 40-yard dash time and, he's not the biggest guy in the world to affect the fact that he is going to be a huge contributor, I think, in the NFL.
Yeah, but I think there is some truth to he showed one player on tape who wasn't very fast, right? He wasn't. The speed really
I would
wasn't a
say
crazy
his
aspect of his
speed
game.
was acceptable. I wouldn't say that he was
Yeah,
fast. He wasn't
he's.
slow. He's
I'll tell
acceptable.
you who my Carnell Tate comparison is.
I
It's
think I know
Keenan
who you're
Allen.
going to. Yep. I think I.
It's
Yep.
Keenan Allen.
Hmm.
100% is Keenan Allen.
And
He
how
isn't
I'll take
crazy
Keenan
speed, but
Allen
he's a
10 days out of
technician.
10.
100%.
Yeah.
But there's really good receivers in this class. And if he was going to jump ahead of those two on a lot of teams' boards, he was going to have to put up a really nice 40 time. I don't think he's going to have some crazy fall, but I think for some teams, he might have been ahead of Mekhi Lemon, but now he's behind him. Or he might have been ahead of Jordan Tyson, but now he's behind him. I think, again, it's a really, those three wide receivers, and that includes Cornell Tate, are really good. And in order for him to have separated himself and kind of put himself a little bit of a tier above, he would have had to show that he had more game speed than he showed on film. And he wasn't able to do it. I don't think it's going to make him collapse. I don't think his draft stock is going to plummet, but I do think it will be hurt a little bit as to how much. I don't think it'll be a crazy fall,
Yeah.
but I do think it's a situation to watch without a doubt. Storyline I want to point out, and I mean, I guess it's a pattern across the league, but it really feels that way specifically on the defensive front. Players are getting lighter at the worst time possible. It feels like a lot of these guys are a lot faster, right? We're seeing some linebackers play a lot speedier, but they're not the biggest players on earth, you know? And I say it's the worst time possible because with teams running more too high, I mean, how did Seattle win, right? How did Seattle win the Super Bowl? Well, they gave a lot of their credit to their ability to defend the run out of a light box, out of a too high shell. And you have to be able to hold up against the run in order to do that. David Bailey is my prime example of this. He not only is he a low effort player against the run, but he's just generally a light body. And we're going to talk more about David Bailey later. You'll hear a rant about him for sure. I'm not a fan of David Bailey whatsoever. And we'll talk about that when we talk about that Jets pick later on in the show. But I just think these defensive fronts are getting too light when they're needed way more now than ever to be able to defend the run.
Yeah, and you talk about, I guess, how players are getting lighter. And it's so interesting because we've waxed poetic this entire offseason since we started the show about how, oh, teams are lining up under center more. They're going out with 3 tight ends. That does not bode well with lighter defensive linemen. That does not, right? You need a Byron Murphy, a big, thick boy in the middle to disrupt stuff. We don't need all these light guys on the edge. And that's actually a good segue into what I was going to talk about for my last Combine storyline. And I have 3 words: speed, speed, and more speed. These guys are faster than ever, and that's a direct correlation between the guys being lighter than ever. You talk specifically about the defensive line being light. Obviously, that is the case. But to my count, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 guys that ran 4.33 or faster. Like, that's ridiculous. We also talked about a quarterback that is 6'5" and ran 4.36. Speed is becoming more of a focal point in our game than it's ever been before. Speed is the number one most what's the word I'm looking for? It's the number one most wanted skill in an athlete. Like, we need guys, the modern NFL, that can run and run fast. And again, maybe, like we're saying, the pendulum is swinging a bit too far to the left where big teams with big bodies are going to start dominating all these light guys who can run fast. But the key to the combine for me was just how fast these guys are and how much of a focal point that speed has become in the NFL. It's reaching its apex of importance.
Yeah, but again, it's very strange because the offense sets the tempo and offenses are getting heavier. Offenses are getting bigger. I think the true answer really does lean in the middle, and that means you got to depend on the Sonny Styles of the world, and you got to be able to find the guys that fall a little bit despite being more hybrid athletes, right? Because in the first round, there's going to be the Caleb Downs, right? That could be physical and really play tough football while also being incredibly athletic and being able to cover a lot of space. But when it gets later in the draft, are you able to find the Nicky Manwaris and the Brian Branches and those guys that are more of a hybrid role? That's when it gets really tough. And I mean, who have you looked at so far that's really, not to put you on the spot, that's really stuck out as like a potential faller but he has a little bit of the build to be more of a hybrid player that you get the best of both worlds in the sense of he's both big and athletic, able to cover a lot of space, cover the speedy slot receivers while also being able to go ahead and defend against the big tight ends.
You're putting me on the spot, and I don't like it. And I have a half answer for you. I'm blanking on his name, but the corner from South Carolina. I'm having a brain fart. I'm like totally blanking on his name, but that's a guy who I have really liked his combination of speed and height so far. And again, we want to talk about big and fast South Carolina DBs. Nick Manwari falls into that category as well. But
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to sit here and say we have to go like the old Pete Carroll method and like measure the guy's arm length, and if he's 6'4" and he's got long arms and he's going to be a great corner. I think that maybe that's phasing out a little bit in the game, but I do think that the combination of size and speed is important. Like, obviously if you could build a guy in the lab, you'd want a guy like Nick Manwari, but speed is not just the most important thing. Like, we do need size. We do need to be able to compete with these bigger bodies.
Is it Brandon Sissy?
Yes. Thank you. I was totally having a brain fart. He's a guy that I really like. Can you tell I really would love if Seattle took him with pick 32? I think that'd be
You
a
don't
pretty.
know his name. Terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's March 1st. Okay, I have a little bit of time.
Yeah, no. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, no, I have
I'm
a
not
little
gonna
bit.
lie on specifically corner. I am really behind right now. If I'm being entirely honest, the guy out of LSU, I haven't even watched yet.
Yeah, no, it's getting that time, like you said. Now it's time to grind the film.
Yes,
But I'm
100%.
gonna look. I'm looking at his information right now. He's a little bit smaller than I thought, but I mean he is athletic. Jumped well. He's good athlete, but
But
yeah.
that's what it is, and that's also on the offensive end.
Right.
And I mean, that's why seeing the tight end out of Oregon, Sadiq.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why seeing Sadiq have the type of performance he had is huge. Because you take a receiver off the field to go into 12 personnel, well, you still want to have a guy that could stretch the field and be a really nice receiver.
Yeah.
So Sadiq is a great blocker, which means you want to use him in 12 personnel. But then he's also able to go out and be an unbelievable receiver.
Yep.
Because of that athleticism.
Yep.
So, those are the guys that the league is starting to revolve around.
Yep.
So you say, yeah, speed, and you're right. Because these players were raised in the era of speed being the emphasis.
That's their mindset. Yeah, absolutely.
Because they grew up seeing Tyreek Hill and the Legion of Zoom winning Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. That's the era of football that we're in right now.
Yep.
The players don't adapt with the times. The coaches do. Mm-hmm. The players are a little bit behind the eight ball. Always. The pendulum's always shifting. So the players are always a little bit outdated. A little bit. And that's why when you have a Sonny Styles, you potentially look into taking him as early as you can, right? Because freak athletes like that, that's what you need currently in the league, because those are the guys that can really do it all. And those players are timeless. When you're a do-it-all player, you can fit in every system. And systems are going to age out. Systems are going to age in. We're seeing that exact thing happen. These under-center, heavy personnel offenses are aging in. The defenses need to combat that by being these unique athletes. And the offenses need to keep bringing in these special types of tight ends, like Sadiq. Mm-hmm. So those types of players, that is what the league is currently looking for. So I was talking about how I'm behind the eight ball on corner, but there's one specific corner that I did watch his tape, and I fell in love. And that's Jermod McCoy. I loved his tape. My third storyline from the Combine is the fact that a year after this ACL tear, he is still not able to go for the Combine. And maybe he's just playing it safe. He doesn't want to re-injure it. But that's concerning. And again, it sucks because his tape is electric. His tape is outstanding. But it's hard to take a bet on a guy who can't even perform in the Combine, and we haven't seen him play in a year.
Yeah, this is very reminiscent, and I'm sorry to hit you with another baseball analogy, but it's March, it's spring training, I'm in baseball. I'm starting to get in baseball mode a little bit. It's kind of like when a pitcher's coming off Tommy John surgery, and his fastball velocity is 4 ticks below what it was pre-Tommy John. And you look at that and you're like, uh-oh, maybe he's not right. And when you're not doing drills at the combine, the showcase of your life, which is what the combine is, because of an ACL injury from over a year ago, especially playing a very physically, athletically demanding position such as corner, it's a major red flag. Like it is. And I feel bad for him. I hope that he's okay. I hope that, like he said, his knee is continuing to recover and progress. Injuries, I obviously we all hate injuries, but to see that, that was really concerning for me. Like that's a type of situation where I think taking him in the first 3 rounds is really risky. You're right. The tape is good, but if you can't have a guy who is all there athletically, who doesn't participate in the NFL Combine in March, I don't know. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not saying he can't have a career, but to take him with the first 100 picks, I would say that would be pretty risky, pretty rich for my blood personally.
Yeah, I think on one hand I'm with you, but on the other hand, look at
You like
like
the
Will
tape.
Johnson.
You like the tape, and you
Yeah,
like Will Johnson. I agree.
again, like think back to what Will Johnson.
Yeah,
That he was a stud.
dude. I
He
think he would have
really
gone
is.
top
He's a
10.
stud for Arizona.
I think he would
Yeah,
have gone
he's
top
a
10.
stud for Arizona, but
Yeah.
he's coming off an injury. The issue with this though is Jermon McCoy is a year removed. Like it has been so long, and
Yep.
he's not participating in the combine, and it's probably advice from his agent.
Probably.
I right that probably is what
But
this is
even if
about.
he's 90%, I still would have ran because not going is worse. Like if he ran like 4.52 and he didn't jump well and this, that, whatever, or if he skipped out on a jump, that's less alarming than him just not doing anything at all. Because if I'm a team, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like you're still
Yeah.
not participating. So yeah, that seems very alarming to me.
Again, it's legitimately some of the best tape I've seen out of a college corner.
Where do you think, no injury, no ACL tear, where would you say he
Oh,
goes?
he's I'd say a
Back half.
top three defender in the class.
Wow.
Uh, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, his film is crazy. It's like Sauce Gardner equivalent, and he's playing for Tennessee. He's
Yeah.
not playing on Cincinnati. You
Yeah.
know, he's playing against some of the best receivers in the league,
True.
and he is locking them up. You look at, I believe it was Ohio State, and he played against Jeremiah Smith. Clamped the entire game.
Yeah.
Like he was ridiculous, and he's doing it against these top receivers in the nation.
Yeah.
So I think Sonny Styles is still ahead of him. I think Arvell Reese would still go ahead. I might take him over Caleb Downs. I really might.
Wow.
Like he was, you want a lockdown corner, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In McCoy. But is that the case? Like, will he even be available consistently? I don't know. Like it is very concerning, everything going on with McCoy at the moment.
Yeah. Obviously, we're talking about taking this guy pre-injury, what he would be. Now I want to switch gears into talking about present day and what we would do if we are the Jets at number 2. What are some of their options? What are some of their, I guess, best team building philosophical pathways to success for this draft?